we have IP in the news. And guess what IP in the news is all about tonight? Mickey Mouse is going off copyright. Not all the Mickey Mice.
Not all the Mickey Mice.
But just the first original Mickey Mouse. And so that's quite an event. That's such a fundamental part of Disney's character and image. To actually be losing that copyright, I think is kind of a big deal.
Right. And it lasted for 95 years. It would have lasted longer if they'd known who created it, but apparently that wasn't recorded, because a copyright will last 95 years or 70 years after the death of whoever produced that content. So anyway, but can everybody use that original Mickey Mouse now? Like, can I make t-shirts and sell them with that original Mickey Mouse on it now?
Well, in theory, you could. And there are things that Disney is trying to do to sort of retain control over the original Mickey Mouse character. They're trying to perhaps file a trademark on it, which is a bit of a stretch. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it or not. Disney in the past has almost gotten special conditions for a lot of things because they're such an important institution in the United States, but it seems like it's going to be a stretch, and eventually they are going to lose protection for the mouse.
But the thing is, I don't think very many people would even recognize that as Mickey Mouse. Today, it's changed so much.
I can't tell you that, but so, anyway, it's time for Richard's Roundtable, and I would like to hear from our guests what they think about this issue, or if you have another question about intellectual property, happy to address that as well. So, Joel, welcome to the show, and please tell us your opinion on this dramatic and important development in the world of copyright.
Well, thank you, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate you guys. It's great to be here. For me, it sounds like it's a very minor issue. If it's just the original Steamboat Mickey, to me, it's a big to do about nothing. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I even ever saw, the Steamboat Mickey.
I think it was more like a stick figure kind of thing.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting a lot of publicity in the media. I guess there are a lot of people who are terrified.
No, I think Disney's paying people to talk about it.
Any publicity is good publicity.
Any publicity is good publicity. Sean, welcome to the show. What do you have to think about this development?
Yeah, thanks for having me as well. And I think that, all things have a life cycle. And I think that, 95 years is quite a bit of time. So I think that there's obviously an opportunity to sort of release that and give other people opportunity to use it. My question would be around the different variations of Mickey Mouse, right? Like at which point, like that one there, the original one that we no longer even recognize today as expired, but, are all the other variations, were they patented under the same sort of umbrella, and are those expiring just at a later date? Like, what is the state of those?
No, that's a really great question. And like you've mentioned, Disney has changed Mickey Mouse over the years multiple times. And so each one of those individual creations is entitled to its own copyright. And so those copyrights will remain in force and in effect until either their 70-year term or their 95-year term expires. So Disney still has plenty of copyright protection around the mouse for sure. So great. Florencia, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. What are your thoughts about this?
Thank you for having me as well. I kind of agree with what both of them just said, because I feel like the Mickey Mouse that is going to expire won't be very recognizable for like my kids. If I put the Mickey Mouse that we have today and the Mickey Mouse back then, they wouldn't get excited for that one. So I don't think it's gonna really affect Disney Corporation. And if, as you mentioned, it's not part of the umbrella, it's very individual, they can rebrand Mickey for the amount of time they need, so this won't affect them eventually.
Right.
That's a good point. Like they could change it a little bit, get a new copyright, then that lasts the length of the time of the person who did it plus 70 years. So they could just in perpetuity.
And
Yeah.
and you know, another part of this is once the original Mickey does go off copyright, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are using it on t-shirts. And so, you know, in other places. And so I think it's going to kind of almost create a revival of Mickey Mouse if a lot of people would try to use the older version.
And
So,
that could really help the brand. You're right.
yeah. So Kenya, what do you think?
Well, I just want to go on record and say I was the original creator of the original Mickey Mouse. I'm joking.
In 1928. Good job. Yeah.
If no one's here to take credit, I'll take credit. But all jokes aside, you know, I agree with you, Richard, in terms of like the repurposing or reuse of the image. I mean, you think of Disney and there's certain like characters that create this nostalgia and these memories for people. And I could totally see Disney or somebody coming along and creating like this whole vintage like line of use for this character. So I would see why they would be concerned, because that would be my first thought is how cool can we make this new vintage line of this old school Mickey?
So weren't we also saying that Donald Duck, the original Donald Duck, is going off copyright in a couple of years? And who was the other figure?
So Donald Duck and Pluto could lose his. And then I guess that Winnie the Pooh lost his. And so they made a Winnie the Pooh horror film called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Oh my God.
What? Yeah. Let's hope they don't do that with Mickey.
No.
Did they say anything about Minnie? Did she
No.
come along later?
She was later.
Okay. All right. So Minnie is safe for now. Well, that's an interesting story, and we'll certainly have to see what happens next.
Well, put Mickey back in the news again, because when I found this, when I was looking, I decided to look for other articles after I found the first one, and it was all over the place. So
This is hot property, folks.